And if you could tell us your full name and spell the last, please.
Trenton Stermer, Stermer.
Thank you, Ms. Seiderbean.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Trenton. How are you?
Doing all right.
How did you know Todd Stermer?
It was my father.
And how do you know Linda Stermer?
That would be my mother.
And at the time of the fire on January 7th of 2007, were you living with your father and Linda?
Yes.
How old would you have been at that time?
12.
Who lived in the house with you at that time?
My two brothers, Corey and Trevor. Linda, my father.
Can you describe the house that you were living in at the time of the fire? Was it completely finished?
No, not completely finished. Had quite a bit of work done to it. I mean, it was getting there.
Had walls,
Had walls.
all painted?
We had just started painting a lot of the walls, yeah.
Did you have carpet?
I don't remember having too much carpet. I think we had some area rugs in various places.
And where did you sleep?
In the basement.
Was the basement finished?
Not entirely.
Do you have walls there?
We did have walls, yes.
How about ceiling?
We had just finished the ceiling in my bedroom. It's kind of a drop ceiling.
Did you have carpet in there, or was it area rugs?
I think it was probably rugs maybe.
Do you remember the night before the fire?
Not particularly.
Anything strike you that you remember?
Arguing.
Who was arguing?
My father and Linda.
Do you recall what they were arguing about?
Not at that time, I wasn't aware.
Do you just remember the arguing the night before, or had it been going on?
It had been going on leading up to that night, yeah.
Did you ever see your dad and Linda get physical with each other?
No.
Ever see any injuries on Linda?
No, never.
Do you remember if Linda came down to the basement the night before the fire?
No.
And that was a bad question, I'm sorry. Do you remember, or did she come down or not come down?
I don't believe she came down, no.
Did she ever come down and sit on the basement couch with you and your brothers
The night before?
the night before?
No, not that I recall.
So she didn't cuddle with you on the basement couch?
No.
Do you recall if she slept on the basement couch that night?
I definitely don't think she did.
Had your dad worked on the furnace that night that you know of?
No,
How about the day before?
not that I recall.
Where was your bedroom in relation to the furnace room?
Directly next to it?
Did you share a wall?
Yes.
And you didn't hear him in there working on the furnace at night?
No.
Had your dad and Linda talked about divorce at all?
Yes.
Do you recall how much or how often they had talked about divorce?
Leading up to that, there was talk of them separating and who I'd like to go with.
Who asked you that?
My father.
Just asking where you wanted to live?
Yeah.
Had Linda said anything to you about divorce prior to the fire?
Not that I recall.
Do you recall the morning of the fire?
Vaguely, yes.
Do you remember what happened when you woke up?
Just told that we were going to the mall, going to the movies.
Did somebody wake you up?
Not that I remember.
Who told you were going to the movies?
I think my brother Corey.
Did you have your own room, or did one of your brothers sleep in your room?
I had my own room.
Did Linda tell you why you were going to the movies?
Foundation, I thought he said Corey told him.
Corey woke him up.
I think I'll let you
He didn't recall, yes.
re-ask, because I think Mr. Mueller's correct on that.
Okay, I can ask the question a different way. Before you left, did Linda tell you anything about what was happening?
When we went upstairs, I believe she told us that they were working out the details of getting divorced.
Did she say anything about her moving or leaving?
She said something about her going to stay with her sister-in-law, Kim, maybe.
So you said you went upstairs, so you did not go out the basement?
No, definitely not.
So you went upstairs.
Yes.
When you went upstairs, did you see your father?
I did for a second.
Where was he?
Sitting in his chair, I believe.
And the chair was where?
In the living room.
Did you see his face?
I did, yes.
And was he awake? Was he sleeping?
Seemed like he was sleeping, potentially.
Were you able to say goodbye to your dad?
No.
Why?
We were kind of shooed out of the house.
Chewed out by who?
Linda.
Did anyone try to go over and say goodbye to your dad?
I did, yes.
What happened when you tried to go say goodbye?
She stopped me.
How did she stop you?
Put her arm out and pulled me back towards the front door.
What was common practice in your house regarding saying goodbye?
Always goodbye, love you, hug, kiss.
And you were not able to do that day, were you?
No.
Did Linda tell you anything about your father that morning?
No.
About why you couldn't say goodbye?
No, not that I recall.
Was it common practice at your house for Linda and your dad to leave purses, wallets, and keys in the vehicles?
I don't remember.
Do you remember what vehicle you and your brothers took to the movies?
Took the Blazer.
Do you remember who drove?
Corey.
Do you remember if you had a full tank of gas?
I don't remember that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that answer.
I don't remember.
Thank you.
Do you recall moving anything out of the vehicle? Do you recall Linda moving anything out of the Blazer before you left?
I didn't see her get into the vehicle before we left.
She didn't tell you to wait while she took her purse out?
No, not that I remember.
Sustained.
Did she tell you to wait while she took anything out of the vehicle?
Not that I recall.
So where did you go when you left the house?
We went to the mall in Portage and then to the movies theater, which is right next to the mall.
How'd you find out about the fire?
Corey's friend Steven called while we were in the movie and told us that the house was on fire.
What'd you do?
We looked at each other and thought that he was kidding.
Did you call back?
We did call back,
And then what did you do?
and we were kind of in a little. I was in shock a little bit, like, is this for real? And then we decided to leave and head home.
Did you go back to your house?
Yes.
What'd you see when you got there?
Smoke, police vehicles, fire trucks maybe, I'm not sure exactly.
Were you able to go up to the house?
No.
Do you remember where you stayed that night?
Well, we went to the Masalis next door, and I believe we stayed at my grandmother's that night.
Would that be, is her name Sandy?
Sandra, yes.
Was that in her one-bedroom apartment?
I believe so, yeah.
Did you talk to Linda that night?
Did, yes. She came to the Masalis at some point. And yeah, was hysterical. I don't remember necessarily talking to her, but saw her. And
Did she stay at your grandma Sandy's that night?
I don't recall.
You don't remember talking? Do you remember talking to her at all at Grandma Sandy's?
No.
Did you have pets at the time of the fire?
Yes.
What pets did you have?
I had we had a dog, Buddy. Can't remember if we had another dog, a chocolate lab, or not at that time. You know, the one dog had recently passed.
Did you have a cat?
No,
You didn't have any cats?
I don't believe we had any cats at that house.
Did your dad or Linda ask you to move any framed school pictures into the shed before the fire?
Not that I recall, no.
Do you recall where pictures were stored in your house?
No, not really.
Do you guys have gas cans at your house?
Yes.
And where were those stored?
Would have been stored at either the shed in the back of the house or off of the lean-to barn that we had, where the tractor was. And
Was the lean-to barn in the backyard?
no, that was off to the side in the field.
So if you're looking at the house, standing in the driveway looking at the front of the house, was it to the left or to the right?
To the left.
Was it common to leave gas cans in the yard?
No.
Was it common for a gas can to be in the front yard?
No.
Did you have a snow blower at that time?
No.
Did you have a working lawnmower at that time?
I believe so, yeah.
Any reason why a gas can would be in the front yard in January?
I'll sustain that as to speculation.
Did you ever see a gas can in the front yard in the wintertime?
No.
You mentioned there was a tractor in the backyard, is that correct?
The tractor would have been off in the field on the left of the house.
How big of a tractor was that?
It's a pretty large tractor.
Did anyone take cars into the backyard at that home?
Yes, but not at that time of the year
When would you have taken cars into the backyard?
when the ground was dry.
So would you take the cars back there in the winter?
No.
Why would a car go in the backyard in the summer?
We would pull the cars down there, you'd drive back down the driveway and into the back fields sometimes.
Into the back fields?
Yeah,
But that was in the summer?
yeah.
So around the time of the fire, were you aware of anyone driving into the backyard?
No.
Do you recall smoke detectors in your house?
Yes.
And do you recall, let me ask you this way, were they in every room?
I don't know if they were in every room, but they were definitely throughout the house.
Are you aware if they were working or not?
As far as I was aware, they were working, beeping.
Did you ever hear them going off?
Going off, we'd change the battery at times so that the beep test would go off.
Did Linda tell you what happened when you talked after the fire?
Yeah, she gave a few different stories over the next 2 years.
Different stories? Do you recall how they were different?
Just what she did, where she went, changed.
How did they change?
At one point she said that she went upstairs and she saw a fire and couldn't see anything, and I think she said that she couldn't make it up the stairs at one point, and that there's too much smoke or there's fire already before that. And where she went out of the house seemed to change.
What did she tell you on where she left the house?
At one point she said that she went back downstairs and went outside the back door, and I feel like at a different point she said that she went out the front door. But at any time that I would ask, she would get either hysterical or angry and would attack me at times.
So when you asked her about the differences in the story, is that when she attacked you?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
A few different occasions. She driving once, she I think pulled over and started smacking me or something, and another occasion she just flat out attacked me and gave me a bloody nose and pushed me into the bathroom. Another occasion she told Trevor to beat me up if I kept asking questions about it.
So all of these times you've just described were related to you asking why her story was different?
And what happened and how it was that my father didn't make it out.
After the fire, did Linda ever tell you what to say to police officers, insurance agents, or anyone else that you were talking to?
She did.
What'd she tell you?
I don't recall exactly. Before the first trial, I remember her, before sitting down, being deposed or whatever, she told me to just tell him that if I didn't, that I didn't remember on certain questions.
So she told you which questions to not remember?
I don't recall exactly.
But you recall her saying you recall her saying to say you didn't remember.
Right.
Did she say what would happen if you didn't do what she said?
That we wouldn't get the insurance, wouldn't get our things back.
Wouldn't get your things back?
Right.
Had you made out a list of everything you lost?
Right.
Were those the things she was referring to?
Yes.
Prior to the fire, did she say anything concerning to you about your dad?
Prior to the fire?
Yes.
Yes. At one point, she had came downstairs and sat on my bed and said, wouldn't it be better if he was dead?
Take a short break. Remember the rules. I'll have you report to the jury room. Okay, the jury's left. Mr. Mueller, your objection?
I don't know how long the prosecution has known about this statement, but it's never, ever been in any police report, any prior testimony under oath. We've never been provided with a written statement, either by the police or the prosecutor. And I want to know how long the prosecutor has known this and they didn't tell us this to where we get ambushed at trial. This, as you can imagine, could be a blockbuster. And we were entitled to know when they found out that this was going to be the testimony so we could prepare for it. We have had nothing from the prosecutor.
Okay,
And I'll take the answer and then I'll respond.
okay, the side of me?
Thank you, Your Honor. There's lots of things these boys have never had a chance to say. They have not been interviewed since the prior trial. I have encouraged them to try to dig deep and remember everything that they have not been able to talk about. We've had some conversations over the past few weeks preparing for trial. I've asked them to try to remember things, write things down. They've not spoken to police. They were under their mother's influence during the time of the trial. I mean, I don't know everything they don't know because these boys haven't been able to even talk about it until they've actually been able to get here under oath and tell their story, Your Honor. I don't believe we have to tell every single statement that could possibly come out. I don't know everything that they remember. I don't have every detail of what they're coming on the stand and remembering. Some of these questions I'm asking as we're going through trial and I'm learning more. I learned more when Corey got on the stand on Friday. And so I'm probing more into their memory and into what they know, and this is their opportunity to finally be able to be free and able to tell what they know, regardless of what their prior testimony was, regardless of what their deposition, and regardless of law enforcement. These are statements made by the defendant.
When did you first learn that this witness was going to state that Linda asked whether, I think the statement is, wouldn't it be better if he was dead?
I think we had talked over the last few weeks preparing for trial, and I asked if there were any sort of derogatory statements, and he said that there were lots of things. He told me he was coddled by his mother, that she told and confided in him a lot, and that she had made derogatory comments about his father. And we've talked about it, and I knew I was going to ask him if there were derogatory comments because he was the one she confided in.
But the exact statement, wouldn't it be better if he was dead? You've known of that for a few weeks.
I can't say I know the exact statement. I knew there were going to be derogatory statements. I knew that Linda had said things to him. I knew that he was coddled. I knew that she had made derogatory statements about his father.
So this was the first you heard was today, that wouldn't it be better if he was dead?
I don't know if it was the first time, Your Honor. I can't say that. We've talked about a lot of derogatory statements. And so I knew that there were derogatory statements. I can't say I knew those exact words. I can't say if, I knew exact times. I can't say if I still knew those exact words.
Your Honor, and I'm not so sure, frankly, the witness should be here listening to this.
Well, is there something you're going to say?
Well, no, what I'm going to say is, you asked the question directly, when's the first time they have talked over the last several weeks. Does she know the exact words that he just spoke? I don't know, but I do know this was a softball thrown to the witness for him to hit a home run. And whether she knew that exact word or the gist of it, these are the things we have to know. Because let me tell you, Your Honor, there is a whole big difference between she coddled him and she said some derogatory things about Dad, and she asked, wouldn't it be better if he was dead? And then a few days later, he's dead. It doesn't get any bigger than that, Your Honor.
Your Honor, these witnesses have been on these witness lists for years. He could have easily interviewed the witnesses, talked to the boys. This has never been a secret that these boys were going to testify. They testified in the first trial. They've had insurance depositions. He had every opportunity to speak to him and interview him in trial preparation as well.
There has never been a report or any testimony even remotely close to that. In fact, he's testified in other settings that he didn't speak to Mom much about the fire. So this whole idea of they're blindsided, you mean they're learning this right now as we are? I frankly doubt it. And I want to know too, did he speak to any police officers?
Ms. Iterveen, so I'm just trying to hone in. Derogatory statements are one thing, but this is a powerful statement. Wouldn't it be better if dead? When did you have, maybe you didn't know the exact wording, but when did you have notice of that?
I would say in the last couple of weeks we talked about his dad, that she wanted him out, or that they were going to be moving, and who did they want to live with, and wouldn't it be better if we were divorced? And, I mean, we've talked about an awful lot of statements with the boys. So we talked about a lot of derogatory statements. I can't be more specific than that, Your Honor.
Okay.
And this would have been in trial prep over the last few weeks. I had the boys come in and I talked to them all individually. I talked to them as a group. And we talked about a lot of different areas and a lot of topics.
Okay.
And this couldn't be more explosive and detrimental to the defense.
I'm going to strike the last testimony. It appears the prosecution had notice of it. It's different than other general statements about being coddled or other general derogatory statements. It's a powerful statement, and the defense has had, even though the prosecution knew of it, the defense did not have the opportunity to prepare for it. So I'm going to direct the jury to strike the last.
Your Honor, I move for mistrial because you can never unring that bell. Once it's heard, it cannot be unheard.
Okay. I believe jurors can follow their instructions, and I will instruct them to disregard the testimony about wouldn't it be better if dead, the last testimony. So I'm going to deny the request for a mistrial.
Understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything else before we bring in the jury again?
Nothing else than that.
Okay. Welcome back, jury. I have an instruction for you, jury. You are to, I'm striking the last question and answer provided in the case before you went to the jury room. You are not to consider it in any way, and it must not affect your deliberations or verdict in any way. Thank you. And Ms. Zeiderbein?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
You were living with Linda then at the time of the fire, correct?
Correct.
And you continued to live with her then for several years after that?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes or no answer?
I'll allow it. Overruled.
After the fire, did Linda tell you anything about buying life insurance after the fire?
Not that I recall.
Okay. At the time that you were interviewed by insurance and by the police and then prior testimony, were you still dependent upon Linda?
Yes.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Stermer. I'm going to ask you some questions today, just to kind of clear up a few things, to clarify some things based on what you've said in the past, okay? If I ask you these questions, I know it's difficult. I'm not just trying to do my job, okay? I hope you understand that.
Sure.
You said that, well, first, can we agree it's now 2025? The fire happened 18 years ago. You've given some testimony and some statements under oath in the years since Can we agree that you probably had a better memory back in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 than you do now 15 years ago about a lot of the details?
No, I would disagree with that.
You would disagree with that?
Yes.
Do you think your memory is as good or better now?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
I was in pretty much a daze back then in the first trial, and I was kind of being manipulated by Linda at that time.
You did know what taking an oath meant, right?
Yes.
And swearing to tell the truth,
Yeah.
and the penalties if you don't tell the truth.
Right.
When you testified, you gave testimony to an insurance lawyer, and you were under oath. In fact, you were asked, do you understand what an oath was? You remember that?
I honestly don't remember the first trial hardly at all.
You don't remember the first trial, but you remember all these details 18 years later?
Yeah, some of those details are ingrained in my memory.
Are you on any kind of medication that makes your memory better?
No.
Or anything that makes your memory better?
No.
Back then, when you were testifying in the trial, you were living with Grandma Stermer, right? This is 2010?
Yes,
Okay, that was Todd's mom.
correct.
Then you lived with Todd's mom, and was there any other family? Their family? Or just Todd's mom?
Trevor lived there for a brief period.
How long did you live with Grandma Stermer after, like, 2010?
Till I graduated high school.
About 3 or 4 years?
No, I graduated in 2011.
Okay, so about at least a year.
Yeah.
When you were told to tell the truth in court under oath, did you do that?
Honestly, like I said, I don't remember that trial hardly at all. And if I was smoking pot at that time, and I really don't remember. I was kind of in shock, so I don't remember what I said. I don't remember the questions that were asked of me.
You were, I think, just a young teenager around then, right? 14, 15-ish?
Sounds about right. 2010, so 16 going on.
So you were smoking some pot, which made your memory not so good?
No, I was just in shock. I was blindsided by the trial and was very depressed.
You just heard Ms. Zuderveen say you've prepared with the prosecutor to get ready for today's trial.
I had only an hour, maybe, conversation.
An hour to talk about what you might testify to today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you meet with any police officers with or without the prosecutors
Recently?
the last few months?
No.
I just want to go over a couple things about your testimony. One of the big things I want to talk about was, you said the furnace. Remember you talked about the furnace and how you didn't hear your dad, whether he was working on the furnace or not, the night before the fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. The furnace would go out of whack. It'd go off and on sometimes, right?
No, not to my knowledge.
Would it shut off sometimes, to your knowledge?
No.
If I may approach, Your Honor. Get off the microphone first. in that little binder right here, see this? See that? It's called an exam under oath. It was testimony you gave on September 6th of 2007. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
You have to say yes or no. And you were asked on page 3, do you solemnly swear?
I'm just going to object. I don't know if we're using this to refresh his memory. He's already said he doesn't remember the trial. He doesn't remember the questions. So I don't know if we're refreshing memory or what we're doing here.
I'm going to refresh the memory. I just have a question. Did you take an oath?
Are you using this for memory
In a
refreshment?
second, yes.
Okay, I'll
This
let
is
you
a
lay the
different question.
foundation.
Thank you. You remember being asked that question on page 3? You take an oath?
I don't remember that question, no.
Okay. Does it refresh your memory? If you look at page 3, from 3 till 5 or 6, do you solemnly swear that everything you say in the statement?
Your Honor, I guess I'm just going to object. We've just talked about it. It doesn't refresh his memory. He doesn't remember it. He's already testified to that.
I'll sustain the objection as to foundation for memory refreshment.
If we go to page 15, I want you to read that to yourself.
Where?
Page 15. We'll strike that. You go to something else. You don't recall the furnace being sometimes needing to be worked on by your dad?
I mean, the house was being built as we were living in it, so I don't recall there being many issues with the furnace. After it was, I mean, in the beginning when we were living there, we were using kerosene heaters. So once the furnace was up and running, I don't remember there being any issues with it.
Okay. Do you recall, talking about the construction of the house, that in the living room, like the whole living room area, if I... Your Honor, these have been previously admitted as Exhibit O, floor plan of the house. I'm going to show you this drawing that we've gotten. Does that kind of depict the layout of the first floor of the house?
That's about right, yeah.
Right, big living room, you got a dining room off the back right corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes,
And the front door is here where the foyer is?
correct.
Okay. Do you recall that the living room had, the whole floor was exposed wood with just some throw rugs?
Yes, sounds about right.
You're now how old?
32?
32. Do you know what OSB flooring is, like subfloor?
I do, yes.
That was all subfloor.
Yes.
And there were a lot of exposed beams and things in the house.
Exposed beams? No, I don't believe so. I think we had already gotten the drywall up on the ceilings and the walls for the most part.
The basement told us that the ceilings were not drywall, right? And is this kind of a good layout of the basement with your Corey's bedroom, your bedroom, the rec living room?
Is this an
Yeah.
admitted exhibit
That's
too?
part of it.
Okay, part of O.
Sir?
Yes. So I think that we had just recently put in the ceiling in at least my bedroom, and I believe Corey's bedroom as well.
Certainly, the house, as you said, was unfinished. You were still completing building it as you moved in, right?
Yes.
The smoke detectors you talked about, do you know how they worked?
For the most part, I believe so.
Were they hardwired? Were they just the kind you put batteries in?
I believe they were hardwired and had batteries in them.
Okay. In the month or so before the fire, do you recall, as you sit here, whether they were working?
To the best of my knowledge, they were working, yes.
Okay. You didn't have any alarms go off though, did you?
In what sense?
Smoke alarms in that month before the fire,
No,
or the fall before the fire?
no. But like I said earlier, there was like the beep test to warn you when the battery was low, and we'd change the batteries out.
The Chevy Blazer that you took to the mall, you said Corey drove?
Yes,
That was mom and dad's car?
it's somewhat of a shared vehicle, yes.
And if Corey drove, where were you sitting?
I would have been in the back seat.
Behind the driver, behind the passenger?
I think I would have been behind the passenger seat.
So then Trevor would have been in the front passenger seat?
Yes,
You didn't see Linda Stermer get in the vehicle or do anything before you left the house, would that be fair?
that would be fair.
So you wouldn't have known what she did or didn't do before you left the house, right?
Correct.
And I think you said you woke up about, I don't know, 11 o'clock-ish?
I have no idea.
When Linda had you and your brother leave, she wasn't acting upset or sad or anything, was she?
She was acting angsty.
Antsy?
Angsty?
Like anxious?
Yeah.
Let me ask you to turn to page 16 of your examination under oath and read to yourself Exhibit 3 to 7.
Okay.
Okay. Does that refresh your memory that mom was acting normal and was not extra upset or extra sad?
I guess I'm just going to object. I would prefer that he ask if that refreshed his memory. He's already said he doesn't remember a lot of these interviews, so
Your
without
Honor,
going into the entire
I'm sure there's a
question.
legal objection coming somewhere.
I think we're blending memory refresh with prior inconsistent statements. So if you
Understood.
could just lay the foundation for one or the other or both.
Was mom upset or sad?
Upset or sad?
Yes.
No, I don't. She didn't seem upset or sad necessarily.
She seemed normal.
She seemed in a rush. She seemed like she was trying to quickly get us out of the house
Okay.
without seeing my father.
When you gave testimony and you were asked this question, just normal mom, your answer was, yeah. Would that be right?
That's what it says, but again, I don't remember that.
Understood, but when you swore to tell the truth and you were 15-ish, 14-ish, you would have told the truth, right?
Not necessarily.
You might have lied under oath.
Potentially.
And I want to direct your attention to a couple years later, when you testified at a hearing in 2010. And that's this one here, just this stapled piece of paper, you see that?
What? What are we looking
This
at?
one, yep, that has the same kind of caption, you see that one? Let me see. Nope, the other one. And I want to turn your attention to page 130. Lines 14 through 18.
Lines what?
14 to 18. You were asked the question, your mom was acting normally that day, is that true?
Your Honor, I guess I'm going to object for the same grounds. Are we refreshing his memory? Are these prior inconsistent
This isn't-
statements? He's already said he doesn't remember.
Your Honor, this is an inconsistent statement, you just said she wasn't acting normally.
I'll allow it as inconsistent statement.
No, The question was, your mom was acting normally that day. Is that true? Your answer, that's true. And it's true to say that your mom was sad after the fire, and your answer was yes.
Again, I don't remember that day of the trial. I was in a daze. I was in a state of shock.
But you knew the difference between right and wrong, correct?
Yes.
You knew the difference between a truth and a lie, yes?
Yes.
You knew that when you take an oath and you swear with your hand that you have to tell the truth. True?
Right.
And so you did tell the truth in that court hearing.
Again, I don't remember that day, and I was in a state of shock. I don't remember the questions. I don't remember my responses. I don't remember much of that time period.
Okay. When your mom was, and you guys were going to the movies, your mom didn't tell you any type of specific time to come home, did she?
Not to me.
Okay. You didn't hear your mom say, look, I need you to stay out till after about 5 o'clock. Go do things, go to a movie. Just don't come back till dinner time. She never said that to you anyways.
Not to me, at least.
Yeah. And you didn't hear her say anything like, look, just go out for a little bit and come back in an hour and a half, right?
No, I don't believe so.
But your mom, I think you testified, told you that your dad and her were arguing and they were working out a conflict.
Not working out a conflict, working out the details of getting divorced.
Can I ask you to turn your attention, sir, to page 122 of that trial when you were under oath? And look at lines 13 to 15. Are you there?
Yep.
Was this question and answer given? Was there a reason given as to why she wanted you to go to the movies? Your answer was, they were working on a conflict. That would have been true.
If that's what I said, then a conflict is in getting divorced, separated, her moving in with Kim, or going to stay with Kim.
You told our jury this morning that you saw your dad as you were walking out, and he was in I think a recliner chair, like a lazy boy type chair.
I can't remember if it was a rocking chair or a recliner chair.
Would have been in the living room.
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you to turn your attention to that same document, the trial testimony, at page 125? Lines 12 to 17. Are you there?
Yes.
You were asked a question. When you left the house, before you left the house that morning, did you see your dad at all? Your answer was no. You didn't see him at all? I don't believe so. That was your testimony, right? Under oath?
Again, I don't remember that.
But if you were under oath, swore to tell the truth in a court like this, you would have, right?
Again, not necessarily, because I was being told to say certain things by Linda at that time.
But at that time, January of 2010,
Prior to that,
you were living with Grandma Stermer, right?
sounds about right.
Okay. And you knew what perjury was, right?
I don't believe I did at that time, no.
Your dad, you said, could be, and I'll use the word, loopy before the 7th. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe we were told that he was on some medication for ear infection.
Okay. But you personally observed him before the 7th being loopy, right? It wasn't just being told.
I believe there was at one point he was kind of out of it.
Okay. But this was several occasions before the day of the fire, wasn't it?
Sounds about right.
Okay. In fact, you said one time you saw him in front of the refrigerator, open the door, and he just stood there. Well, you didn't even know what to do, right?
I don't recall.
Let me see if I can refresh your memory. I'm going to ask you to turn your attention to page 132 of your testimony from January of 2010. And let me know when you get there.
Yeah.
Lines 12 through 16.
Yeah.
Does that refresh your memory about how he might stand in front of the fridge?
Vaguely.
You had your relationship after your, before the fire, you were pretty close with your dad, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. But it was also easier to talk to Linda because she'd kind of let you get away with more things
No, I wouldn't say that.
and give you permission, right?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
You wouldn't agree with that? Let me turn your attention to this transcript that's in the binder. And I ask you to look at page 19. From 10 till 16. You see that?
Yes.
You were asked under oath, I'm not saying you liked one more than the other, but did you find it easier to talk to either your mom or your dad more than the other one? And your answer was probably our mom, because she would let us do more. And the question was, if you needed permission, she was a little easier to ask. Answer, yeah. That was your testimony under oath, right? Yes.
Sounds about right, yeah.
And if you swore to tell the truth and you were asked that question and gave that answer, it's because it was the truth, right?
Probably, yeah.
You said you had a lot of conversations with your mom after the fire about how it started, and she'd get mad, right?
I would try to have conversations about it, yes.
And she'd get mad.
She
You
would
said
either
hysterical once. I think that you said mad.
Yeah, there was several times that she would either get hysterical and then angry or
Okay.
try to end the conversation.
But it was several times you'd done that, right?
There's a few at least.
Okay. I want you to turn your attention to the same document, page 20 at the bottom and the top of page 21. You there?
Yes.
You were asked a question under oath. Did you ever talk to your mom about how the fire started? And your answer was not really, because when we did, I don't know, she was like really upset. So you really didn't talk to your mom much about the fire.
Like I said, I tried to.
You gave that question that answer to that question under oath, because it would have been the truth.
Again, I was in a state of shock at that time, and I was trying to not think about it.
I think you were asking questions about, did you ever see mom and dad hit each other or anything like that, right?
When?
This morning?
I think the question was, was there violence?
Yeah, there never was, right? As far as you ever saw.
No, not really.
And the night before the fire, you would have gone to bed around 11 o'clock. You were 12 years old. It's on Christmas break, the last night before you go back to school, right? Or it would have been 2 nights, Saturday night.
I don't recall.
Okay, did you go to bed around 11 o'clock?
I have no idea what time I went to bed.
Okay. Let me turn your attention to that same binder at page 10. Lines 23 to 25. You with me?
Yes.
Does that refresh your memory that you went to bed probably around 11 o'clock that night?
It doesn't refresh my memory, but the question is like 11, is that like 2 o'clock? I mean, I don't know how late you stay up. I said probably 11 or 12, so that,
So 11 or 12.
that sounds about right.
And you wouldn't have known what your dad might have been doing that day or the day before with regard to the furnace anyways, right?
I would have, I believe, because I was directly next to it. I shared a wall with it.
I know sleeping, but during the day you guys were out, right? Would do things. It's Christmas break.
I don't believe we were out and about that much.
Would you agree if Trevor says we'd go to the mall a lot and do things because not much to do for a teenager in Lawrence? Would you agree with that?
Sure, but I wasn't always involved in Corey and Trevor going to the mall.
Give me just 1 second, Your Honor. You've told us here today that you don't remember a lot about that earlier testimony under oath. Remember that?
Yes.
Because you were smoking dope, right?
Yes.
And you were in a state of stress and flux, right?
Right.
When you met with the prosecutor, did you tell the prosecutor, you know, I don't have a very good memory of a lot of that stuff because I was smoking dope back then?
I don't recall ever saying that. Linda had basically encouraged me to smoke pot, so it kind of carried on after that.
Is there anything you're on now that's affecting your memory or making your memory better?
No.
Thank you, Your Honor. Any other questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Linda told you to go for a movie and breakfast. Is that accurate?
I don't recall. I don't recall her telling me specifically what to do. Just go to the mall, go to the movies.
Linda was your only parent left after the fire, is that correct?
Correct.
When you're looking at that past transcript Does it refresh your memory of that you said it or that it happened?
Which?
Yeah, and when you look at that transcript, do you remember saying those things?
No, I don't.
Do you remember that those things were accurate?
I don't remember if those were necessarily accurate.
Are some of them not accurate according to your memory?
Yes.
Why would you have said some of the things that you said in that transcript?
Well, there was, leading up to that, before the trial, before Linda had gotten arrested, I felt threatened by her and what I might say.
So she wanted you to say some of those things you said?
I believe so, yeah.
You still relied on her at that time, is that correct?
Bleeding.
Did you rely on her
At the time of the trial,
at the time you made these statements?
I believe so.
Would you have relied on her for finances?
I believe so.
Are you under anyone's influence or threat today?
No.
Are you testifying from your memory of what actually happened?
Correct.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Just a few, thank you. Did you say you felt threatened by your mom when you were giving this testimony?
Leading up to the testimony, I don't exactly remember what was going on at this time of the testimony.
If you look at that little stapled piece of paper, not the one with the case caption, that other one's police report. You see that? Yes. That was in October of 2009. You see that? Yes?
I don't know where, yes.
On the front page.
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel threatened by Linda then?
Was this prior to her being incarcerated?
I just want to know, did you feel threatened?
If it was prior to her being incarcerated, then yes, I did.
Okay. But certainly if it was before October of 2009, you wouldn't have felt threatened, correct?
Not necessarily.
You still would have felt threatened.
Potentially.
Okay. Well, I want to know your memory, not...
I don't know the exact timeline.
Okay. You were living, by the time you testified in the court hearing in January of 2010, you'd been living with Grandma Stermer for about 6 months, since about the middle of summer. You remember that?
Sounds about right.
Okay, so, and when you spoke to this police officer in October, you'd been living with Grandma Stermer for about 4 or 5 months, since the middle of summer.
Okay.
Right? Did you ever tell the police officer, I feel threatened by Linda?
I don't recall.
Okay. If it's, strike that. You don't like your mom very much right now, do you? Would that be fair?
That's one way of putting it, yeah.
That's mildly putting it, right? You really, really dislike your mom right now, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have anything else.
How old were you in 2009?
Well, my birthday's in February, so would have been 15, I believe, depending on the month.
15, depending on the month.
Yeah, 2009 would be 16.
And then in 2007, when the fire happened and when you were talking to insurance agents and police officers, how old would you have been in 2007?
I was 12, almost 13.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All those times, obviously, you were old enough to know what telling the truth and taking an oath was, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Jury, any questions of him? I've got at least one hand going up, couple. Sir, I have some questions from the jury. Okay, no objection from the lawyers. Did you kids have Linda's second cell phone when you went to the mall?
I don't believe I was aware of the second cell phone until after the fire.
Okay. Did you, if you know, you may not know, did you at any time receive money from the insurance company to replace your lost items?
I don't believe so.
When did you start calling your mom Linda?
Pretty much as soon as I found out that she murdered my father.
Your Honor, I move to strike. That's completely.
Counsel were given the opportunity to object to the question. There's no objection, so I'm not going to strike his answer. Any counsel have any, thank you, sir. Counsel have any questions of him in light of those questions and answers?
Did you have your own cell phones as teenagers?
Yes.
And then you said you became aware of her having a second cell phone after the fire?
Yes.
How did you become aware of her having a second cell phone?
I believe Corey told me.
So you didn't personally know?
I wasn't necessarily aware of her having 2 phones, no.
You hadn't seen her with them?
It just didn't, I don't believe that I recognized it as 2 separate phones.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Mueller?
Just a couple. Regarding that question about calling Ms. Stermer Linda, you lived with your mom for a period of a couple of years after the fire, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, and you didn't call her Linda until sometime after about 2010, would that be right?
I may have started calling her Linda when she would attack me when I was asking about the fire. I don't recall exactly when
Would, just trying to place it a little tighter, would it have been around the time you started living with Grandma Stermer?
No, it was probably as soon as she got incarcerated, and that I became aware that she was even being investigated.
Okay. But you said around the time incarcerated. There was a time in June of '09 where Ms. Stermer was arrested for this fire. It's around that, and that's the time when you went to move in with Grandma Stermer, right?
Yeah.
And that's around the time when you just told us you started calling Ms. Stermer
I really don't
Linda,
remember when I started calling her Linda.
but you started then calling her Linda instead of Mom.
Your Honor, I guess he's miscategorizing the witness's testimony. He said that he thought he was
The
starting
same
when he
with
was
your
being
Honor,
attacked
speeches.
for conflicting statements.
Okay. I am going to sustain that objection. He's indicating he doesn't remember.
Can we just get a caution, Your Honor, with regard to the speaking objections? Form foundation is a legal objection. Thank you.
Her objections are fine, and your objections are fine.
Thank you.
Questions? Either of you?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Mueller, any more questions?
None, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Jury, do you have any other questions of him? None? Thank you, sir. You're done, and you're excused from your subpoena. Okay, thank you.